The August 11th, 2015 meeting of the Monroe County Legislature will now come to order. Will the clerk please call the roll?
President Adair.
Here.
Mr. Ansello. Here. Ms. Andrews. Here. Mr. Baroth. Here. Ms. Boyce. Here. Dr. Carbone. Here. Mr. Colby. Here. Mr. Daniele. Here. Mr. Delahanty. Here. Mrs. Draw. Here. Mr. Flagler Mitchell. Here. Mr. Gamble. Here. Mr. Haney. Here. Mr. Howland. Here. Ms. Cayley. Here. Mr. John Lightfoot. Here. Mr. Willie Lightfoot. Here. Mr. Marionetti. Here. Mr. Michike. Here. Mr. Morelli. Here. Dr. Quattro. Here. Mr. Rocco. Here. Mrs. Stick. Here. Ms. Taylor. Here. Mr. Terp. Here. Mr. Tucciarello. Here. Mrs. Valerio. Here. Mr. Wilcox. Here. Mr. Yolovich. Here.
Please stay seated at this time. I would like to introduce Reverend James Cherry Jr. of the Antioch Missionary Baptist Church, who's been invited here tonight by Legislator Ernest S. Flagler Mitchell.
Thank you, President Adair. Shall we bow our heads in prayer? Dear wise and loving Father, first let me say thanks on behalf of all those who are gathered here this evening. Thank you for your many abundant blessings. Thank you for life itself and for the measure of health that we need to fulfill our calling. Thank you for substance, for friendship, and thank you for the ability to be involved in the useful work of governing in Monroe County. Father, in the scriptures you have said that citizens ought to obey governing authorities because you have set them in a place to promote peace, order, and justice. Therefore, this evening I pray for our county executive and the county legislators. I pray, Father, you grant them wisdom to govern amid the conflicting interests and issues of our time. I pray a sense you would give them of the welfare and true needs of the people. I pray you grant them a keen thirst for justice and rightness. I pray you grant them confidence in what is good and fitting, and the ability to work together in harmony, even when there is honest disagreement. I pray you bless them with peace in their personal lives and joy in their task. I pray for the agenda set before them this evening. Give them the assurance of what they do tonight will benefit those who live and work in our beloved city of Rochester and in our county of Monroe. I pray this in the blessed name of Jesus the Christ. Amen. Thank you.
Legislator Stick will now lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Legislator Stick. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You have received your copy of the Journal of Day 8, July 14, 2015. Without exception, that journal is going to stand approved as submitted. There is a hearing loop in place tonight to assist those who are hearing impaired. Anyone requiring assistance should inquire in the clerk's office.
If you have a cellular phone, pager, or other electronic devices in your possession, I would request that you make it inaudible for the duration of the meeting. Thank you for your cooperation.
Legislators, the referrals for the legislative cycle are in your committees, for the next committee cycle are in your folders now. At this time, it is my privilege to introduce County Executive Maggie Brooks, who will address us tonight on the Monroe 200 report findings. County Executive Brooks.
Well, thank you, and good evening to all of you. I am here tonight not only to present the highlights of the report, but also to talk a little bit about why the millennial generation should matter to each and every one of us here in this room. By the end of this year, 1 in every 5 American workers will be over 65 years of age. And by 2020, 1 in 4 American workers will be over 55. That's according to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics. Those are eye-opening statistics that mirror the trends in our local community and underscore the need to double down on workforce development and job training efforts. It's vital that we connect young, skilled job hunters with opportunities. Well, who are those young, skilled workers? More often than not, they are millennials. Born between 1980 and 1994, millennials represent the fastest growing demographic in this country. Last month, the U.S. Census reported that nationwide the number of millennials has surpassed the baby boomers. And Monroe County has followed in that trend. Local millennials now account for 28% of the population, and baby boomers account for only 26%. Last fall, we started the initiative to create the millennial culture here in Monroe County. The goal is to identify ways to unleash the potential of this increasingly influential age group. Local millennials, or as we like to call them, rock millennials, joined the Monroe 200. They were nominated by local colleges, businesses, young professional organizations, and some volunteered to join after hearing about the initiative from friends. At the first meeting, I asked each and every one of the Monroe 200 to imagine someone had given them a blank sheet of paper, and we asked them to make a list of everything they would want or need in a community where they choose to live, work, and eventually raise a family. Next, we broke up the Monroe 200 into 8 subject matter groups so we could tackle several issues at once. The groups included jobs and economic development, housing, recreation and culture, education, health and wellness, environment and sustainability, transportation and mobility, and safety and security. Each group was accompanied by a subject matter expert who acted as a mentor and resource as the Monroe 200 facilitated discussions on how to make our community a destination for millennials. I spent time with each of these groups, and I will tell you they were energized and incredibly hardworking. Many of our Monroe 200 are students, but some are young professionals, and some are even young parents. Yet they spent their evenings and their weekends coming together to talk about things that make this community a great place to live and what they would like to see in order to stay here. So who exactly are they? Well, we know the basics. They're a diverse group of local millennials who care about the community. But instead of me talking about them, I want you to hear from 2 of our rock millennials themselves. I'd like to introduce you to Will Monroe of the Safety and Security Group and Anastasia Dobel of the Jobs and Economic Development Group. Will and Anastasia are both members of our leadership team, which is a group of volunteers who have asked to help keep the momentum going, and they are here today to tell you about their experience. Will and Anastasia.
Hi there. I first want to give a thank you to Maggie for putting this all together and making it possible, as well as Tipping Point Communications, Michelle Ashby, who was my expert in the economics and development group that I was in. I also want to thank all of you for giving us, the millennials, a chance to be heard and collaborate with one another. I grew up in Fairport. I lived there my whole life. My family are small business owners, specifically in the restaurant business. I grew up loving the community, loving the city of Rochester, from the arts to the festivals that we have here. And unfortunately, I am one of the millennials that had to move away. I just graduated last year from Ohio University, where I studied economics and law. And unfortunately, I obtained some college loans. And in order to pay back those loans, I had to move to Columbus, Ohio. So the moment I heard about this initiative from Jordan Kirkpatrick, who works here at the Legislature, I knew I wanted to be part of this. I wanted to be part of it so that another kid wouldn't have to move away, that we could look at what we have here in Rochester, as well as the challenges that we face in order to collaborate and create a report that we could present to all of you. Throughout the process, not only were we ensuring that we were representing all of the millennials in Rochester, but we were also developing relationships with one another and with local business leaders. They listened to our ideas and our feedback, specifically for myself with jobs and economic development and growth. I feel that we took this process and this report extremely seriously, so much so that I was willing to drive over 6 hours to come back to Rochester every weekend that we had meetings, as well as to be here tonight. The final product is a comprehensive report which provides an outline of areas of strength as well as challenges which we need to address overall to keep Rochester growing and keep millennials like myself here in Rochester. So with that, I want to thank you and turn it over to Will.
Great job. Thank you, and thank you, Executive Brooks, and what an honor it is to speak here in front of the full legislature tonight. You know, I was born here in Monroe County. I grew up here in Monroe County, and I couldn't imagine living anywhere else but right here in Monroe County. This is a great community, a great county, and certainly there's no place like home. So just who are these Monroe 200 Rock Millennials? Well, they're a group of diverse young professionals that want to make a difference in their community. They're passionate, dedicated to ensuring the future of the quality of life right here in Monroe County, and I'm certainly proud to be one of them. As local millennials, we're connected, energetic, and we like to do things differently. We care about education, and we're concerned about the future of the Rochester City School District. Most importantly, we want to stay right here in Monroe County. When given the opportunity to join the Monroe 200, I was in. What a great conduit to meet other like-minded individuals who want to see this community succeed. I was assigned to the Safety and Security Committee led by our county's Director of Public Safety. Although there were some concerns about public safety, most committee members seemed concerned about government outreach and jobs. But unfortunately, there is a little larger issue. According to a report released by the U.S. Census Bureau, New York State leads our nation in outer migration. More people flee this state than any other state in the nation. The fact is alarming, and it should concern state and local stakeholders. Historically, Monroe County has been a community of innovation. When we have fallen on hard times, we've always innovated to bring ourselves back stronger. I applaud our county executive for leading the state in innovating a means to retain young professionals here. I encourage the rest of New York's 62 counties to also create exploratory committees, just like the Monroe 200, to keep current and future generations from fleeing this great state, the Empire State. And we can say that we started that fight right here locally. And certainly as a community member, I am definitely looking forward to the future here in Monroe County. Thank you so much.
I want to thank Will and Anastasia for coming tonight because they certainly represent the future. And one of the things I committed to them and to all of the members of the Monroe 200 was that we would not put this report on a shelf, that we would make sure that it got into the hands of people that needed to see it. And so that's why we are here tonight. I'm not going to go over the entire report, but I'm going to go over some of the highlights for you just so you can get a flavor of some of the things that were contained in the report. According to the survey, 88.4% of the Monroe 200 consider the greater Rochester area home, and they report a sense of pride in the area. One participant reported that he wanted to teach in a place that felt like home, with family and a sense of history. Rock millennials are invested in their community. Most say they want to stay here and even become part of the community. More than one participant said, "We want to remain here." 79% of Rock millennials are satisfied with their current living situation, a great statistic because it means they are content with where they are living locally, even if it is just a temporary home. Rock millennials want to create a home, not just somewhere to live. A large part of this homey sentiment is finding a friendly neighborhood and a community to live in. Rock millennials want convenience. A common theme from all subject groups was the convenience of living in Monroe County. They appreciate that. They like that we have an easy commute and easy access to everything from the airport to Lake Ontario. Rock millennials think Monroe County and the city of Rochester is not too big, but it's not too small either. They can get around easily, but it's large enough here. The community is large enough to provide access to opportunities that keep them staying local. 91% who are employed say they're satisfied with their current position. However, 36% feel that there's insufficient opportunity for job advancement, which is an important factor when we talk about retaining young talent. According to the Jobs and Economic Development members, one of the biggest challenges faced by millennials is, quote, all of the local entry-level positions require previous experience, and employers seem uninterested in training or mentoring new hires. Rock millennials appreciate a healthy community, an active nightlife, and opportunities for activity when it comes to arts, recreation, and outdoor activities. While it's not surprising that the millennial generation values those opportunities, the values placed on recreation is significant. In the health and wellness group, the Rock Millennials believe quality of life and local health care is excellent, in fact, one of the top rated in the country. However, access to health care was noted as an important issue. Out of the Monroe 200 Rock Millennials, they stated, and Anastasia talked about this, a concern about education. They want access to quality education, not only for their children, potential children, and future generations, but they want it for themselves. They all have a desire to continue their education. 51% found that it is important to live in a good school district now. 79% feel it's important that they live in a good district 5 years from now. They appreciate the cost of living and affordable housing is important to them, but high taxes in the area creates the incentive to leave. So those are the highlights. I just want to thank all of you for giving us a few minutes tonight. We have decided that we will be taking this on the road because I do think it's important. They put a lot of time and effort. Ann Kress is here tonight, and Ann was one of our subject matter experts. Thank you. And I think she would share my view that these are young, energetic, talented people that live in our community that want to stay here. And so we're making this report available through our website, monroecounty.gov. We can get you a hard copy if you'd like. But we want to get it into the hands of people who can make a difference, and that's all of you that are in this room. So thank you for your time. Anastasia and Will, thank you for sharing your thoughts tonight. And I look forward to, in whatever capacity I'm in, working with all of you on maintaining and helping preserve a millennial culture in Monroe County. Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, I would like to introduce Chris Kirkmeyer of the Monroe County Parks Department, who is going to tell us tonight the plan of the month. Chris, the table's yours.
Thank you. Good evening. I chose spirea for this month's plant. There's over 100 varieties of spirea. You'll see them all over in yards throughout our community. There's two main categories of spirea. The first blooms in the spring, and those are white flowers. It's a real cascading. You'll see them probably in your neighbor's yards. And then the second group is largely what I have here, and those are summer blooming spirea. They like full sun. They can tolerate partial shade. They do very well in our winter here, and I'm sure a lot of you want to know if deer eat them. They don't. Deer and rabbits leave spirea alone, so there's, like I said, there's a lot of cultivars. Some get as tall as 6 feet. Others only grow a foot tall. There's dwarf spirea, so there's a variety of uses for them in your landscape. We have quite a few, a nice spirea collection at Highland Park, so if you're interested to see them in a landscape, we do have them there along the Lilac Hill. Does anybody have any questions? Sure. Another good thing about spirea is if they do outgrow the landscape, you can prune them right down. You can cut them down to next to nothing. Most cultivars should be pruned back after they flower, but there are some that, Japanese spirea, there's a few others that you want to prune right away in the spring. Anybody else? Questions?
Chris, good job.
Thank you very
Nice
much.
job.
Thanks for having me.
This evening, there are several proclamations scheduled. Madam Clerk.
Would Alina Knapp please come forward? Also, President Jeffrey R. Adair and legislators Carrie M. Andrews and Joseph D. Morelli, Jr. The Monroe County Legislature honors Alina Knapp, owner of Jim's Restaurant. Whereas for around 65 years, Jim's Restaurant at Winton and Blossom has been an iconic dining establishment in the city of Rochester, a locally owned restaurant that has fed families and workers from throughout Rochester, hosting their meals, dates, meetings, and all manner of human interactions. And whereas the great tradition of the American diner, where citizens from all walks of life could sit down next to each other for a fast and hearty meal and a cup of coffee, has been strongly embodied by Jim's, which has continued to bring together people of all different backgrounds in our increasingly divided and stratified society. And whereas owner Alina Knapp has presided over the most recent phase of Jim's history, having worked there as a waitress for 3 years before purchasing the restaurant herself 14 years ago, and with the love and steadfast support of their mother's vision for her children, built it into the icon it is today. And whereas, while plans for new development of the property have displaced Jim's, its great traditions will soon continue at what was the location of Jim's 2 on East Main at Alexander, ensuring that a new generation of Rochesterians will be able to continue to enjoy the experience of the great American diner. Now, therefore, let it be known that we, Jeffrey R. Adair, President, Carrie M. Andrews, Minority Leader, and Joseph D. Morelli, Jr., Legislator, District 17, on behalf of the entire Monroe County Legislature on this 11th day of August 2015, do hereby honor Alina Knapp and present her with a copy of this proclamation, suitably engrossed. Congratulations.
This is a tough one. I want to thank everyone. This is an honor. I can't even tell you. I'm so touched. I look around this room, and it was kind of funny when I first walked in because I'm like, wow, I waited on so many people here. You guys are half my customers. I love what I do. I love serving this country. I mean, everyone in Rochester, they're the best. I love the people. I love how I deal with the white collars to the guy that doesn't have a house. I love everything about it. Thank you for this honor. I'm touched.
Would Luvine Ford please come forward? Also, President Jeffrey R. Adair and Legislator Ernest Flagler Mitchell. The Monroe County Legislature honors Luvine Ford, president of the Keeler Park Tenant Association. Whereas it is the sense of this legislator to honor individuals who work to organize communities, help individuals find their voices, and have an impact on the political process, and ensure that all people have a say in the direction of their communities. And whereas, attendant to such concern and in full accord with long-standing tradition, this legislator is justly proud to honor Luvine Ford, the elected president of the Tenant Association of the Keeler Park Apartments Residential Tower. And whereas, for 6 years, Ms. Ford has worked each day to ensure that the residents of their buildings are informed on issues affecting them, from policies of the Rochester Housing Authority to local elections to issues affecting the community. And whereas Ms. Ford also helps with a number of quality of life issues, bringing in activities and resources that help ensure all tenants have access to opportunities to have full and enjoyable lives, and acting as a valuable link between residents and management. Now, therefore, let it be known that we, Jeffrey R. Adair, President, and Ernest Flagler Mitchell, Legislator, District 29, on behalf of the entire Monroe County Legislature, on this 11th day of August 2015, do hereby honor Luvine Ford and present her with a copy of this proclamation, suitably engrossed. Congratulations.
I shall be brief. I am humbled and honored to receive this award. I have to give thanks to my late parents up in heaven that said that volunteerism was very critical and very important to reach out to others. I'd like to also give thanks in my quest as the president of Keeler Park Tenant Association, the Rochester Police Department, especially Officer Eric Gomez and Officer Michelle Velez, who came calling on my telephone to help guide us through some of the issues that we were having at Keeler Park, which are now resolved. I would also like to thank Ernest Flagler, who attends our meetings on a regular basis. It's every second Monday. He comes one time as a legislator, and another time he shall come as a fire marshal. He's helping the seniors stay safe. And I want to say thank you, and God bless you, and continue to do good work to all of you. Thank you.
We will now recess for the purpose of holding public hearings. I declare open the public hearing on resolution intro number 234 of 2015 entitled Approving Increase and Improvement of the Facilities in the Irondequoit Bay South Central Pure Waters District for the acquisition of the sewer facility from the town of Henrietta.
There are no speakers registered for this hearing.
There being none, I declare this public hearing closed and open the public hearing on local law intro number 237 of 2015 entitled Improving Increase and Improvements of Facilities in and the Extension of the Irondequoit Bay South Central Pure Waters District for the acquisition of the Scottsville Regional Sanitation Sewer Pump Station and the Force Main Project from the Village of Scottsville and the Town of Wheatland.
There are no speakers registered for this hearing.
There being none, I now declare this public hearing closed and reconvene the August 11, 2015 meeting of the Monroe County Legislature. You have in your folders the approved minutes from the last cycle. There are no formal committee reports this evening. We will now hold a public forum. We have several people registered to address the legislature. Madam Clerk.
If you require assistance, a deputy is available to assist you in approaching the lectern. I will call 3 people forward at one time. Each speaker will have 2 minutes in which to address the legislature, and kindly conclude your remarks when the timer sounds and exit through the back of the chambers. Thank you for your cooperation. Our first 3 speakers are Paul Forsella, Ron Lindell, and Sister Grace Miller.
I am Paul Forsella. The scam involving people Monroe County hired to do work for Monroe County remains a concern for Monroe County residents. It affected some of the highest-ranking people in this county, and although the media has been silent about this recently, it must be known that the public demands justice in this matter. People who act poor must be held accountable. I therefore encourage all voters present to vote appropriately in the next election with respect to this scam matter.
Our next 3 speakers are Ron Lindell, Sister Grace Miller, and Rita Lewis.
Close her down.
This concludes the public forum.
At this time, we'll recess the August 11th, 2015 meeting of the Monroe County Legislature to convene the Pure Waters Administration Board for the Gates-Charlie-Ogden Sewer District. The clerk will please note the attendance and read the first item on the agenda.
PWAB Agenda Item 1, Referral 15-0232.
It's moved by Legislator Marinetti and is seconded by Legislator Yolovich. This is the motion to adopt. Is there any discussion at this time? Seeing none, all those in favor indicate by saying aye. Opposed? The item carries. We will now recess the Gates-Charlie-Ogden Sewer District and adjourn the Pure Waters Administration Board. The August 11th, 2015 meeting of the Legislature is now reconvened. We will now proceed with the considerations of motions, resolutions, and notices. The clerk will please read the next item on the agenda.
Mr. President, I'd like to offer a motion that we move the agenda with the exception of items 7, 8, 23, and 29. Thank you.
Do I have a second? Moved by Legislator Tucciarello, second by Legislator Andrews. That would be just for my 7, 8, 23, and 29. Thank you. Okay, is there any discussion on the move? Hearing none, all those in favor indicate by saying aye. Opposed? The item carries. Madam Clerk, we will move on to item number 7.
Item number 7, referral 15-0207.
It is moved by Legislator Valerio. It is seconded by Legislator Yolovich. This is the motion to lift from the table. All in favor? Opposed? The item carries. Next item, please.
Item number 8, referral 15-0207.
It is moved by Legislator Valerio. It is seconded by Legislator Yolovich. This is the motion to adopt. Is there any discussion at this time? Legislator Haney.
Thank you, Mr. President. I will be joining the rest of you, I'm sure, this evening in voting to approve the Monroe Community College budget for next year. Monroe Community College certainly is a great asset to this community. And in this era, when one of our economic development problems is that we have a number of technical industries that actually are having a difficult time hiring people to fill some of their jobs, that certainly is a role that MCC is trying to fill very actively and successfully. The fact that MCC is a wonderful institution and that I'll be voting in support of the budget, however, does not mean that everything is perfect out there. My fellow legislators will recall that in past years I have risen to speak about the continuing accumulation of uninvested cash at Monroe Community College. And indeed, that growth of uninvested cash continues. At the end of the college's last fiscal year, the college had $54,653,000 sitting in non-interest-bearing checking accounts, which in and of itself is, I find, rather astonishing. And this, my fellow legislators will recall that in the past I have urged the college to do something about that, and indeed 2 or 3 years ago they adopted an investment policy to guide them in investing their surplus cash. But unfortunately, they've never made any investments pursuant to that investment policy. Now, we had an interesting discussion at the Ways and Means Committee, Mr. President, and the purported reason why the college is keeping the sum of going on $55 million in non-interest-bearing checking accounts is because M&T Bank credits the college with an earnings allowance of 0.75%. And this earnings allowance is used to offset bank fees that M&T Bank would otherwise be charging Monroe Community College. I'd like at this point, Mr. President, to ask Mr. Franklin if he could estimate for me what the amount of bank fees is that the County of Monroe pays on its banking business. Just a rough estimate.
Mr. President, with all due respect, it's been my experience that we're better served if I have reasonable and accurate numbers rather than off-the-cuff guesstimates.
Well, I wrote to you 2 weeks ago asking the question. I would have hoped that maybe you... Anyways, moving along, there's 2 problems with the fact that I have 2 problems with the fact that the college has going on $55 million sitting in non-interest-bearing checking accounts. One is that even if this so-called earnings allowance is 0.75% interest, this money could be invested in 10-year Treasury bonds, which routinely earn in excess of 2% interest, so that the college could easily double its return on the money if it invested in 10-year Treasury bonds, which of course are perfectly safe in investments. The bigger problem, however, is that under questioning at the Ways and Means Committee meeting, we were told that the total amount of fees that are being charged by M&T Bank to Monroe Community College are upwards of $600,000 a year. Now, having been around some businesses over the years, Mr. President, I find the amount of $600,000 a year for bank fees to be astounding. There's no other adjective I can use to describe it other than astounding. In answer to another question, we were told that the representatives of the college could not recall the last time when the college issued a request for proposals for banking services. The last 10 years, Mr. President, have been a very, shall we say, vibrant time in banking services. Banks have come and gone. There's a myriad of what were local banks from surrounding counties that have moved into this community. I'm on the board of an entity that, as a result of RFPs, has switched banks for business purposes twice in the last 10 years. I find it astounding, Mr. President, that Monroe Community College, in the period of recollection of the people representing the college at the Ways and Means Committee, has never done an RFP for banking services. I would hope, Mr. President, I, along with a number of people in this room, will be leaving these chambers in just a few short months. So the college isn't going to have to endure me any longer beyond tonight, I suspect. But I would hope that those who are going to be remaining here would look into this situation. And I would hope that with representatives of the college in the audience tonight, that they would look into this situation, because I find it, A, astounding that no request for proposals for banking services has been issued in people's memory, and I also find it absolutely astounding that the college is spending upwards of $600,000 a year on bank fees. You know, when I look at this $55 million in cash sitting in checking accounts, and I look at the potential that that would have, both for the taxpayers of Monroe County and for the range of services that is offered to the students at the college, I'm amazed. So that while, again, I repeat, because the college is a wonderful institution that I'm as proud of as anybody else, and therefore I'll be voting for this budget, since in the light of the court case of a few years ago, our only option is to vote yes or no, we can't amend. But I would hope that the college would take my thoughts to mind, and before they return before this honorable body in another year, that they would look into this situation issue an RFP for banking services and find out if this astounding $600,000 a year price for banking services can't be reduced. I, quite frankly, would truly believe that it could be. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other discussion at this time? Seeing none, all those in favor indicate by saying aye. Opposed? The item carries. Next item is item number 23.
Item number 23, referral 15-0228.
Moved by the Honorable Robert J. Colby and seconded by Legislator Yolovich. Is there any discussion at this time? Yes.
Sir.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other discussion at this time? Seeing none, all those in favor indicate by saying aye. Opposed? The item carries. The next item is item number 29.
Item number 29, referral 15-0234, authorizing contract with Scanex Pipe Services.
Moved by Legislator Boyce. It is seconded by Legislator Yolovich. Is there any discussion at this time? Legislator John Lightfoot.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. President. I will be voting no for this particular referral, simply because I did not get, nor did I request, but that the referral did not explain enough of what the dollars coming in and the dollars were going out, of where they were supposed to be. And in my good conscience, to you, Mr. President, to me, it lacks, so it gives a sense of a lack of accountability. And so I decided to vote no.
Okay, thank you. Is there any other discussion at this time? Seeing none, all those in favor indicate by saying aye. Opposed? Actually, I think I got them all. I think I did. It's if the clerk got them all. Did you get the three?
I did.
You did. Legislators Lightfoot, Willie Lightfoot, and Legislator Paul Haney were the noes. Correct? See, not bad, huh? For an old guy.
26-3, resolution passes.
Thank you. Our next item is there is no unfinished business to come before this body tonight. Legislator Tucciarello.
Mr. President, we stand adjourned until 6 p.m. on Tuesday, September 8th, 2015. Thank you all.
Thank you.